Hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Marjorie Curette with Silver Peak Immigration, and today we're going to be talking about a specific kind of question and answer series with broker Natali Peters regarding franchises and how franchises may fit into your business immigration plans. So, business immigration in Canada is a very specific kind of pathway. Sometimes people do come to Canada with the intention of opening up a business. And I understand that for many business owners that already have the experience overseas, that's an attractive option. You're not confined to having to look to work once you come here. There's something that you can grow and build for yourself and your family. So it is very attractive. Now, sometimes people get confused between whether or not their business actually leads to an immigration pathway. And a lot of times people will come to Canada, grow their business, and then say, well, now what? I have this work permit. What do I do? But there is a specific kind of business immigration pathway that does lead to permanent residency, where it starts off first with an application at the provincial level. So, for example, we're in Ontario, Manitoba, many other provinces have a business immigration pathway. Then, generally, for many of them, you then would receive a work permit and where you would be allowed to come to Canada and open your business. After a period of time for many of these programs, you would then show the province that you have met your obligations growing this business, and you would then proceed to submit an application for permanent residency. And then after time, with meeting permanent residency requirements, you could then apply for citizenship. Some people have a difficult time determining whether they want to open up a business from scratch, whether they would like to buy and acquire already existing business, or if they'd like to work with a franchise. So today we have with us Natali Peters, a broker who is specialized in this area. So Natali is a registered franchise broker who provides guidance and advice to individuals who are looking to purchase a franchise. With a degree in business communication and a postgraduate education in human resource management, she has spent most of her corporate career in training and development roles. She has worked in both small businesses and large corporations. She started in the franchise industry about 10 years ago when she was in charge of training franchisees with large international franchise companies. So she has experience in this area for quite a while. And as a broker, she is an engaged member of the Canadian Franchise Association, often sharing her experience through webinars and articles for their magazine. She is a registered franchise consultant with Business Alliance Incorporated, which is a respected international organization recognized for their integrity and proven results. And as an immigrant herself, she enjoys working with international clients who are looking to immigrate to Canada. She understands the importance of finding the right franchise in order to start your life here on a positive note. And her goal is to make this part the easiest part of your immigration process. So thank you for joining us, Natali.
Thank you so much for having me, Marjorie. I'm so glad we're doing this because I feel like within my business, this side of it can be so confusing to so many people. So I'm so glad to be here and to talk to you about it today.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So why do you recommend buying into a franchise compared to starting something from scratch?
That's a great question. So I always think there is a good fit for everybody, right? So for some people, buying a franchise is a better fit than starting their own business, and for other people, it's not. But the biggest benefit of franchising or buying a franchise is that our tagline is, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself, which I think is critical, especially when you're new to Canada. For somebody who's looking to move to a brand new country and really start a life from scratch, you're not alone. And that's huge. Just having a support team, the head office team to lean on to help you grow your business. Because let's be honest, you and I both know growing a business can be really hard. And to be able to have a support system as you go through that process is absolutely invaluable.
No, I agree. And so you have worked with many different kinds of franchise companies. So what do you have access to? Like what kind of industries could you help people find a good match in?
So it's funny because a lot of people, when they think of franchising, they think of food, right? That's kind of what they're used to seeing, what they're used to driving by. That's what their mind always goes to. So of course we have food, we have retail, but we also have a lot of other options, senior care, education, fitness, beauty, home improvement. We have a ton of different options that people don't necessarily think about when they think about franchising, which is exactly why we're here, is to make sure that people are aware of all their options before making a big purchasing decision.
Perfect. It seems like there is a lot of options and variety in terms of what you can set them up with. So can you speak to a little bit to your process? Like exactly how do you take people through managing all these different options and what might be the best fit for them?
Yes, absolutely. And we do. We have hundreds of options. And if you if you go online, you could definitely look at options yourself, but it can be so overwhelming. And knowing which ones are the right fit for you are absolutely critical. So we do take our clients through a pretty detailed process of finding out about you, about your skills, your experience, your goals, your desires, your strengths, your weaknesses, everything that we need to know about you in order to figure out what the best fit is. And then, of course, what's going to match your financial situation, the territory availability, or in this case, even what you're eligible for when it comes to immigrating to Canada. So there are a lot of different factors that we look at, and it goes a lot further than what do I like. So many times people come to me and say, hey, what about this franchise? I like their donuts, or I like, this product or service that they offer. And that's great. You have to like what you're doing, but there's a lot more that goes into the process of figuring out what is going to be a successful franchise for you or the right fit for you so that you can be as successful as possible, because we all have different personalities and different strengths and weaknesses. And it's really important to think about those when we're trying to figure out what business to purchase.
Those are some really great points. That's true. It's not just simply what's maybe calling you at the moment, but is it a good fit based on your skills and experiences, based also, like you said, if you have something the province itself might be interested in or not. I know there are some limitations as to what kind of franchises you can open depending on the program. So no, excellent points. And I know for a lot of people, though, their minds are quickly also going to go to, well, what is going to make me money? And I know that it's such a difficult question to answer because there's so many different variables involved. If somebody were to just ask you that question, well, just tell me what makes the most. How do you help better align that client's expectations as to what to expect?
Yeah, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me that,
I'm sure.
Just give me the one that's going to give me the best ROI, right? Return on investment. But the reality is, well, there are a couple different factors that we look at. But first off, again, it's going to be what is the best fit for you. And people get frustrated when I say that. But the reality is that if something is not a good fit for you, for example, if you don't want to hire high school students, or you don't know how to work with young teenagers, running a food business might not be a good fit for you, because you're going to have to deal with high school kids all the time, because those are going to be your employees, right? So it does come back a lot to what is going to be the right fit for you, because you're not going to be successful in something that you don't enjoy doing, something that you don't believe in. So that's part one. The other part, which can be frustrating for people, is they do expect me to share numbers on our first call. They want to know exactly what they're going to make. And legally, I can't share earnings claims. The franchise companies legally can't share earnings claims either. They can't say this is the money that you're going to make with the franchise from day one. However, that being said, there are times in the process when you do figure out those numbers. So, for example, when you get the franchise disclosure document, the FDD, many franchises do disclose their earnings in that franchise disclosure document. So you will actually get to see what the top earners are making, the bottom ones, kind of the average franchisees. So you do get to see those earnings claims. If a franchise company does not provide earnings claims in the FDD because they don't to, the majority do, but there are some that choose not to. In that case, you do have a stage in the process called the validation stage. And in that, you actually get to speak to other franchisees, and you can ask them those questions. How long did it take you to make money? How much money are you making? What are your sales? And they will share those numbers. So there are stages in the process where you can figure out those numbers, but unfortunately they're not early on in the process or as early as a lot of people would like.
But how great is it, sorry for interrupting, but how great is it to have someone by your side coaching you through this instead of just taking it on your own? Because these are things that some people wouldn't even know to ask or to consider had it not been for another person involved in this process. So definitely I can see the value of bringing somebody experienced with the franchise process.
Right. Well, and I always tell people, unless you bought a franchise before, which 99% of people have not, you don't really know what questions to ask. That's one of the biggest obstacles, and that is something that we provide. We'll always provide you with questions to ask the franchisor, to ask the other franchisees when speaking to them, things to look out for in the franchise disclosure document, and really guide you through the process. Because, like you said, otherwise you don't really know what to expect. The other thing I will mention is that even though I can't make earnings claims, and I can't share those numbers, one of the questions that we ask our clients early on in the process is, what kind of income are you looking to make? Not, of course, everybody wants to make millions of dollars, but how much money do you need to support your family that you would be happy with? And then we do take that into consideration when we're showing them concepts, because we do know approximately what the earnings are of the franchisees, so we can show them concepts that are going to match their goals.
Fantastic, fantastic. And so when working with these different franchise companies, I'm wondering, are some more likely to take foreign nationals compared to others? There's probably rules as to who qualifies to take part in this, am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So there will be franchise companies that flat out just don't want to work with foreign nationals. Unfortunately, they do require that somebody has a Canadian citizenship or that they're a permanent resident before applying for a franchise. And then there's ones that absolutely love working with foreign nationals. So it really there are both, and we do work with both. We have both in our inventory. So we do know kind of which ones have gone through the process before, which is very helpful as well, because then they know how to coach the people looking to immigrate through the process because they've been through it before. So there are some people in the franchise industry that are complete experts at it. They've gone through it multiple times with multiple franchisees, that they are great resources for the candidates themselves.
So what I like about the idea of a franchise is that there is something that has already been built to a certain extent, right? The additional support, I think, is nice for people who are new to the market, unless maybe they're bringing something that they know what they're doing exactly from overseas. What would you say are some differences between owning a business already that exists compared to a franchise? Is it just that whole marketing and market recognition aspect to it, or are there some other additional benefits to owning the franchise? I'm assuming probably the fact that the process has already been streamlined is probably another benefit, right?
100%. So there are many benefits. So support being one of them, right? We did talk about the support and how key that is for the people that are new to the country, but also it is a proven process, or it's a proven system. That's kind of what you're buying. I always tell people that when you buy a franchise, you are not just buying the directions and the recipes and all the information on how to actually run the business. You're also buying years and years of trial and error, whether that's 10, 20, 50, 100 years of trial and error of what works and what doesn't work, what's going to make you money and what's not going to make you money, where you can save money, what not to do. And that trial and error is just invaluable to people that are looking to meet their financial goals. And I always tell people, I'm honest, that you can make just as much money in a business on your own that's not a franchise business as a franchise business. However, typically you're able to meet your financial goals a lot faster with a franchise business because you're not wasting your time trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, how to save money, how to increase profits, all that type of stuff, because that's what you're buying. You're buying all that trial and error so that you can reach your goals a lot faster.
True. Those are excellent points. But I think also, though, the people who buy into these franchises have to also realize that they're working within something that has been established and determined by the company. So there is a limit to their own personal creative process within the business. Is that right?
Yes, and it does depend on the franchise. So we do have established franchises, ones that have been in business for, like, say, 50 plus years. And then we have newer franchisors that are, just in the business for the last few years. So they each have their pros and cons. One of them being how much input they will take on from the franchisees. Right. So a business, if you think of something like McDonald's, for example, and we don't work with McDonald's. So I'm using that as an example, in that, they have everything down pat, like down to like how much salt you put on the fries. Like everything is figured out. There's no flexibility really with the system. You can't come in and be like, hey, I think we should also put this on the hamburger. And they're not going to listen because they've been doing this for a long time. They know what sells and what doesn't. You go into a newer franchise system, and yes, there is less of a track record. They might only be in business for maybe 5 years, but they're more willing to hear from the franchisees and their expertise, and to hear different creative suggestions, like McDonald's was when it first started, right? The Big Mac was created by a franchisee. We've heard this before. So when you buy into a newer system, you do have that ability to influence the system a bit more, and be maybe a bit more heard than you are in an established business. And that is something that we talk about at the beginning as well, is what's important to you and what matters and what doesn't.
Right. Excellent. See, there is so much more wiggle room than even I realized. So thank you for that. I know that I did want to go over a few of the ineligible businesses. Some people ask me, well, can I start this business or that business? And the reality is that every province is going to have their own rules for what's allowed or not allowed. So I'm just going to pull that up really quick. And we're first going to be looking at, let's do Ontario, because people are going to want to know what are the eligible and ineligible businesses. So if you are considering opening something, make sure that it's something that the immigration is going to accept for your proposal. And then you can work with finding a franchise that falls within one of the accepted businesses. So the way that a lot of these programs work is that they say, okay, this is what we're not going to allow. So we'll start first with Ontario. And this is from the actual source. Okay. So here for Ontario, ineligible types of businesses are automated car wash businesses, holding companies, laundromats, pawnbrokers, payday loans and related businesses, scrap metal recycling, tire recycling, or anything that's going to bring Ontario into disrepute, right? So producing or distributing anything sexually explicit. Also, businesses that have been previously owned and operated by former people in this program, generally not something that they're looking for. Now, if your business proposed area is going to be in the Greater Toronto area, these other types are also ineligible. So existing franchises in Ontario. So if you're planning on establishing yourself in the GTA area and you're looking to open up a franchise, you need to look for something that already does not have a presence there. Whereas if you're outside the GTA area and maybe even a smaller town, if you're bringing something that is maybe more well-known in the GTA, that's fine because you're still offering something probably new to that area. But you have to think about it the way that an immigration officer would think about it, is like, what kind of value are you bringing? If the GTA area doesn't need another Tim Hortons, then don't do that. But if you're thinking about some location that doesn't have one, well, you would be adding some value there. So that's something to think about, or it's where you're planning to have your actual business.
Can I just add, Marjorie, if you know, so we actually do work with a ton of new, a ton of established U.S. franchise companies that are looking to move to Canada, or that are looking to now grow in Canada. So that's definitely something that we can also tap into. Because I was very surprised at that fact. When I saw that, I was very surprised with the GTA and how strict they are. But yeah, just know that there are a ton of different resources of companies that are looking to move into Canada, especially in the GTA. They all want to be in the Greater Toronto area. So we definitely have options for people to look at.
Right, great. So, and just wrapping up, Ontario, gas stations and bed and breakfasts, if you're in the GTA area, that's also something that they're not looking for. Okay. And then we'll move on to Manitoba, because I know that's another really popular one that people generally ask about. So for Manitoba, just 1 minute. So the types of businesses that are not eligible are those that are being used for the purpose of deriving passive income, those that have been purchased by another previous applicant for this program, home-based businesses, real estate investments, rental or leasing businesses, including vehicle rental or leasing businesses, payday lending, checking and cash. So you can see this is kind of the same thing as Ontario. Pass-through, import, export businesses, property management, bed and breakfasts. Again, we saw that for the last one. Cash machine, lottery, taxi cab, or limousine services. Following through with that, farm businesses, because they actually have their own farm process, this province. Those offering self-employed professional services. Self-employed truck drivers, owner-operators, and anything that would bring the province into disrepute. So these are the lists that are straight from the provincial website. This is not something that I made myself. This is an actual sharing from the actual Manitoba program guide. So that gives you some ideas when you're making your decision about what you plan to open, about what is and isn't allowed. Now, and again, those are just from Ontario, Manitoba. There are other provinces with different rules. So I just want to say that this has been really informative, and I'm sure you get questions all the times as to what franchises right now are the most popular. Who do you see the most interest from? Could you tell us a little bit about that? Like, where do you see a lot of the interest and what kind of franchises?
Absolutely. So typically my answer is not food, especially after the last 2 years that we had, but food has just been, very, very hot right now. Most of my inquiries are about food right now, which is interesting because I thought after the last couple of years that we've had with the pandemic and everything, those are the ones that struggled. But we have some vegan options right now that are really popular. People really see the demand for it, as well as education businesses, because unfortunately, kids are behind right now because of kind of everything that our children have gone through with virtual learning and interrupted learning and really not getting the attention that they normally do. So there's been a huge demand and need for children to be caught up. So I'd say food and education are kind of the two that we've been seeing come up quite a bit.
That's a great point, right? So that would make sense in terms of what is needed right now. Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on and answering so many of these questions. We learned a lot. Again, if you're interested in learning more about Natali and her business, please visit her at tapfranchisebroker.com. And if you need assistance, know that when you're working with Silver Peak Immigration, that we definitely have your interests in mind and that we have the professionals that you need to meet your immigration goals. So thank you again, Natali, for coming here and just letting us know so much about what it is that you do and how we can help you. So we'll make sure. Yeah, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fantastic. And I know it's going to be very helpful to my clients as well. And I know that you're a great resource for them. So thank you for everything that you do.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.